Hello everyone, and welcome to our Week 5 Teambuilder for the CGC Draft League. Our Week 5 opponent is going to be Paint, who is the coach of the Sudbury Snover, and she happens to be the talented artist who actually designed our Wooden Dragapult's logo, so yeah, in its majesty. It's so gorgeous. Paint is so talented. Yeah, please do send her the love and check her out. Yeah, this team she's drafted it's a very nice balanced team, I'd say. There's so many different tools that it has on offer and different modes and things I've got to be worried about, you know, just like any other week, pretty much. I'll quickly go over her team and then I'll go into what I'm deciding to bring. So, her first pick was Hitmontop, which I think I know she has regrets over because it allowed Pelipper to be sniped from her, which was definitely going to be a second pick. But Hitmontop is a great mon. It's a very, it's a useful defensive mon, and probably one of the best in the BDSP meta, with its Fake Out Intimidate utility and plenty of priority moves. Like this mon, it's a very scary mon to face because it's hard to predict what it's going to do. It's got enough offense to hit hard with things like Close Combat, Sucker Punch, I believe it gets Stone Edge. Like, it's got, you know, decent coverage overall, but then it can also play very defensive and use things like Wide Guard and Feint, Mag Punch it gets access to. So there's lots of different things that Hitmontop can do, and that's why it's someone you have to be very cautious about, in my opinion, especially because the fighting weaknesses on our team aren't exactly small. Like, it's fighting types, just like Hitmonchan in Week 1, like, they do threaten us quite well, so I have to be very careful of Hitmontop. Entei is the most terrifying on the entire team by far, though. That was a second pickup. So the issue with Entei is the fact that by only resistance to fire on our team is Magmortar, which doesn't really do much damage back, and Latias, and everything else is kind of hit quite strong as well. I'd say my team, other than Weezing, is probably a bit more on the specially defensive side. I mean, Entei can run both physical and special. That's another scary thing about it. It can do both, and you have to kind of work out which set it is. But it also, I don't have any water rock move, like, I don't have any water rock types on the team, and the ground type happens to be Steelix, which does not want to face Entei in the slightest. So yeah, fire types are very scary, and it's actually the reason why after week 6 we've actually done a trade for one of our mons, so yeah, I'll get to that into another video though, just to help against that matchup, I hope. Crobat was definitely on my radar as well. Is a mon, it's probably the best Tailwind user in the entire BDSP meta, other than potentially Murkrow, but I'd say Crobat is just a more solid mon overall because it's actually got decent defensive typing and blindingly fast speed. So Inner Focus is such a good tool as well, not being able to get faked out, as Entei also uses that, of course. So yeah, you got a double Inner Focus, which I highly approve of course. Love that for Paint. The reason I actually never ended up going for Crobat though. Well, it was picked quite early on anyway, so I'm not sure we would have had a chance to, but the fact we managed to get Latias when I didn't expect it basically gave us the Tailwind user and the main role that I was looking to pick up Crobat for. So yeah, you've got Roserade here. Roserade is very tricky because not only is it a Sleep Powder user, which makes, you know, you need counterplay to Sleep Powder, otherwise that can just completely ruin a team, but it's also got a lot of offense. It's one of the strongest offensive grass types for sure. It's got decent coverage options as well, so, you know, it's not just a Leaf Storm Sludge Bomb bot, which already does a lot of damage, but it can also use extra sensory, which could be good into our Weezing. Dazzling Gleam is there as an option, so Leaf Shadow Ball as well for Latias perhaps. Like, it's got good options for coverage, so it's definitely something I'm trying to make sure I'm fairly prepped for this week. Milotic is difficult, like, because Raikou does deal with it quite nicely, but it's such a bulky Pokemon that if Raikou goes down, then it's going to be tough to remove. It can do a lot of shenanigans, whether it be like Quill Hypnosis and such. Recover allows it to survive for longer periods of time. Competitive is what I do expect to Paint to bring if Milotic is brought, because I do have a couple of good Snarl users on the team. But Marvel Scale could also be used. It could be like a Flame Orb set with Marvel Scale, which could help against some of the physical attackers like Regigigas. Although then again, if I've got Weezing on the field, then that's negating the Marvel Scale entirely. So hard to say if Marvel Scale is as useful here. But regardless, it's a tricky mon. So yeah, definitely have to watch out for that. Linoon is always a terrifying mon with redirection. There's a lot of priority on Paint's team. Like, you've got 2 extreme speed users with Entei and Linoon. Sucker Punch on Hitmontop and Honchkrow. I mean, Hitmontop already said it's pretty much like the priority bot anyway. So, yeah, and you've got 2 redirection users in both Riolu and Furret at the bottom here, which can both follow me to make sure that the Linoon mode is definitely something you have to prepare for. Having, like, you know, more than just one mode on the team, it makes it a lot more difficult to prep for overall, and if a belly drum goes up, extreme speed is kind of just running through most of my team, so I've got to be very careful with Linoon. Espeon, I think Espeon and Honchkrow, I was like really impressed with as pickups this late into the draft. They're such good ones for Paint's team. Espeon gives a lot of speed, and it's just got such a strong special attack stat and decent coverage, so while it hasn't got anything, you know, particularly, I guess, crazy and wild, like, it's just a good strong attacker. It can also do more defensive things, like it has screens if it wants to. It can calm mind as well, which against some mons it can be quite scary, and the fact it outspeeds both Regigigas and Weezing does threaten that dual mode as well, so I do expect Espeon to come along, to be honest. Honchkrow terrifies me, to be honest. Like, the fact that it's already got a good matchup into Latias is already a problem, because Latias is quite an important mon for this week, just because of that Entei, I'd say. So yeah, really nervous about the Honchkrow. If there's any speed control that goes on, then it can probably run through the team with just, you know, run like a super luck set and with a scope lens and just like click Brave Bird and Night Slash and things, and then just high chance to just crit through the entire team, which, again, if speed control is on Paint's side, that's going to be a problem. Speed control is massive this week. I need to make sure I keep up the speed control as much as possible, because without it, I'm forced into very defensive play, I feel, with my team. So, yeah, I've already spoke about Furret and Riolu as redirection users. They're pretty much the main thing they do. Riolu is, it's got a few other interesting tools up its sleeve. Like, you've got Howl, Prankster Howl, with you know, mons like Crobat and Entei. When they've got inner focus, can't be intimidated. You know, we don't have any intimidate users on our team, but still, it's a mode you got to respect. There's a few other things it does get as well. You know, like, I think it can maybe able to learn Screech. Feint is another option. There's a few tricky things that Riolu does. I remember going into the prep for this week thinking, well, like, what does Riolu actually do? And the more I looked at it, the more tools I realised it has. So I don't want to count Riolu out entirely. Furret is probably the more reliable redirection user. It's still not that bulky, but it's still bulkier than Riolu at the very least. So yeah, it's as for the offensive tools, I don't really expect much from Furret. So if I do see Furret, I'm not too worried about it. I see it's just kind of that redirection user, but we'll see. It has U-turn as well, which is nice. It can keep it around for later, you know, if you need to pivot around a bit. So yeah, there's that Water Fire Grass Core, you know, Roserade, Milotic Entei, and Tailwind user and Crobat. They're like the main mons I'm worried about overall. Pretty much the top 5, and Honchkrow, Espeon as well, and Linoon. They're all scary. Let's go over my team and quickly go over what I think is going to help win us this matchup. So we've got Raikou here with the Magnet, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Snarl, and Protect. The speed is allowing us to jump the base 110, that is Espeon once again. Very common speed tier that we keep running into, so this is a very common speed we're running on our Raikou this season. Thunderbolt and Volt Switch. So the good thing about Paint's team is there is no ground type, which means that we're pretty free to Thunderbolt most of her team. I believe the only one it's not really be that great against is the Roserade. And I found that the Magnet with the special attack allows us to pretty much two-shot her entire team, hence why we're running the Magnet for just that extra bit of damage. Snarl is good against mons like the Espeon as well. It can do, you know, do a little bit of damage reduction against the Roserade, and the Protect is just crucial. Like I said, if we do have to start playing defensive against, you know, if Paint's able to get Tailwind up and we can't keep up with that, then we may have to have tools to stall it out, so Protect is crucial. And Volt Switch might just help for pivoting, so I didn't feel like we needed any other move slot, really. So yeah, that's Raikou. We got Latias, we got Draco, Meteor, Psychic, Tailwind, and Protect. We spoke about, you know, Latias as a Tailwind user, but this is actually the first time I'm finally bringing Tailwind Latias. When I first created my team and we were doing some prep matches with my front office, I didn't have Tailwind, and I found matchups very 50-50, because the main thing this week is if I can stop the Crobat setting up Tailwind, then we are in a much better position right away. But if I can't, and Paint definitely has the tools to stop it, then it becomes a lot more difficult. So I thought the best way to keep is just to keep up with her speed by using Tailwind of my own. So if I have that option, that allows me to keep up and hopefully keep up the offensive pressure rather than force the defensive plays, which I really can't afford to do because there's enough bulky offense on her team that allows her to kind of just win that war of attrition, I feel, if she can get more attacks off. So we've got Draco Meteor and Psychic, just the dual stabs with the Soldew. Just similar to Raikou, it just does a lot of damage this week, and I don't feel I need any other coverage moves. And again, Tailwind and Protect are there for the obvious reasons. We've got a Timid Nature here with enough speed to jump Entei, the base 100. I didn't feel like it was worth trying to speed tie potential Espeon, so yeah, that's what we were rocking. I can't help but wonder if I should be running a little bit more bulk on both Raikou and Latias. I've went kind of speedy offensive this week, which definitely means Latias and Raikou are quite prone to getting picked up by, things like extreme speed from Entei and Linoone if they're weakened enough, or sucker punches from Honchkrow and Hitmontop, which scares me a lot. But I'm hoping that with this is going to work out. I just need to play smartly and make sure I don't let Latias and Raikou take too much damage without getting something good for it back. So we've got Regigigas Weezing this week, as you can see here. Nothing fancy, nothing like levitate on this Weezing while we've got Regigigas here. No, we're going the pure Regigigas Weezing mode this week because Paint doesn't have a single normal resistance. There's not a Rock, Steel, or Ghost type inside, which means Regigigas with a Crush Grip should be able to just absolutely run through a lot of her team. Now, I'd say most of her team do have enough bulk to probably take a hit, especially because we're not running a Life Orb, we're running the Lumberry, but it's still going to chunk stuff for sure. So the Lumberry I think is crucial just because I've kind of already focused on it slightly, but the amount of status that Paint is able to spread onto my team is very scary, and I think the Lumberry is going to be important to make sure that we can deal with any potential Sacred Fire burn, or a moment where we're about to put Sleep by Sleep Powder or something. Something awful in prep as well is that a couple mons actually get Hypnosis on Paint's team as well, things like Crobats and Milotic, so things like that. It's like a nice safety net. I think that's going to be very important. Knockoff is very good for mons, just removing items and such. Not only is removing items beneficial in a match, but it also gives me information across the best of 3 to know what kind of sets each mon is running. So yeah, it should be useful. And Rock Tomb is going to be mainly for speed control. It's again, I feel like we should kind of just be spamming Crush Grip and Knockoff. So I've already spoke about how speed is so important this week, so Rock Tomb just allows us to get further speed control and maybe get us out of some certain sticky situations as well. So it does get into Crobat and the Honchkrow. And Entei, it's not bad, especially because Crush Grip, if Pokemon's low on HP, then that move becomes quite weak, so having Rock Tomb as just an alternate option is not bad by any means. The speed is enough to jump Roserade, just so that, sure we can take a Sleep Powder once with Lumberry, but it still doesn't have to take 2, so it's nice to outspeed it and have that security. We've got Weezing here, a somewhat standard set. We've got Citrus here. Citrus is nice, I expect to kind of be very much exchanging attacks this week with Paint, so having Citrus just allows Weezing to stay in the game a bit longer, which is incredibly useful, I found. Sludge Bomb pretty much hits everything, even though some things, may not take too much damage like Crobat from it, it's still, a decent neutral attack against most things, and if I can get poisons, then it really helps a lot, especially against ones like Entei and Milotic. Just wear them down a bit. Will-O-Wisp, I do think it's important still for mons like the Crobat and Hitmontop. Just doing more damage to them overall really helps a lot. And then they've got Haze. Haze is the kind of the spicy one this week that you don't see every week. The reason we've got Haze is purely for the Linoone. It's hard to predict, the Linoone lead if it's there as a mode. Because Weezing Regigigas isn't like the primary mode I always want to go with, depending on what mons are there, but it's an option that I have, and it's important that I have it just in case I get in that situation. Because the thing is that while Weezing is probably still going to go down to a +6 extreme speed if it goes up before I'm able to Haze, if I can switch Weezing in as it sets it up, then I'm kind of forced to make an ultimatum where you either attack the Weezing and stop the Haze, which she might not even be aware I have, or I may be able to just KO it with another mon, that I'm trying to attack with. So, if the mon that I'm trying to attack with goes down, then at least I get the haze off, and you know, positioning wise it may help me a bit. So yeah, that's that. We've got Mr. Mime. It's once again, surprise, surprise, a choice scarf set, because it's just good. It just is, like, you know, someone's going to catch people off guard if I don't run a choice scarf set at this point this week. But yeah, just this is basically the main game plan to stop Crobat setting up Tailwind. It's all I have really, because again, it's very difficult to stop a Crobat setting Tailwind, and the way I can see myself doing that is with Choice Scarf Icy Wind. We've got enough speed to outspeed Crobat, and then putting it at -1 should allow Latias or Raikou to pick it up with either a Psychic or Thunderbolt. I have a feeling that Crobat may run Macomberry, assuming it comes this week, so I'd rather do Mr. Mime Latias as my lead. I think that's probably going to help me out in the long run. But of course, there is counterplay to that. You know, Hitmontop can fake out one of my mons so that I can't just stop Crobat getting the Tailwind, you know. But at the same time, Hitmontop doesn't exactly want to face Mr. Mime Latias either, so it's not a too bad a position if that's the lead that Paint goes with. So yeah, Psychic and Dazzling Gleam, they work wonders this week really. For things that Psychic doesn't hit, you know, decently, we've got Dazzling Gleam, and I actually had Healing Wish in place of Thunderbolts this week, but the issue with Healing Wish that I found out only when I was getting ready in game is that only Mime Junior learns it as an egg move, and I'd already had this Mr. Mime, you know, trained up and prepared and all that, so I couldn't afford to make an entirely new one just to get a Mime Junior with Healing Wish. It just seems like such a huge amount of work, especially as a baby Pokemon. That just complicates breeding entirely. So super frustrating that they designed it that way. But I thought Thunderbolt isn't a bad backup option. You know, for mons like Honchkrow, Milotic, and Crobat, it gives me decent coverage if I need to lock into something. So I thought that was the best backup option, really. It's a shame that we can't run the Healing Wish as an idea, because, again, I feel like we'll be exchanging attacks, and if I can, you know, if Latias and Raikou get low, but I still need them in the game, I might be able to get in Mr. Mime and Healing Wish to get them healed up again. That could be very cool, but alas, it's not meant to be. Not saying we can't run it another week, now I know what I'm meant to do to get a Healing Wish, but, you know, we'll have to see. And then we've got Magmortar here. Been a while since we've used it, only used it in week 1 so far, but, yeah, I don't expect to really use this thing this week, but it's not a bad mon into the Linoon if there's redirection, because I can kick a Lava Plume, and with Life Orb, that's going to just tear through it. Going to do way too much damage. I've got to be careful, of course, with my own teammates if I'm clicking that, but that's kind of the main tech. I've got Magmortar, the reason I bring it. Also the Vital Spirit, nice for Roserade if that's brought as well, just to have another sleep immunity, because I just do not want my entire team falling asleep, it's not fun. And then Flamethrower and Thunderbolt isn't bad coverage. Once again, there's quite a few mons weak to Electric on Paint's team that I do expect to be brought, like the Milotic and Crobat and Honchkrow. So yeah, another week where we've got plenty of mons with Thunderbolt. I think half the team has, with Raikou and then Mr. Mime Magmortar. So yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much covers most of the team here. We're running a modest nature. I just wanted as much damage as possible. The speed is a bit of an awkward one. It's hard to really say if I should maybe, you know, re-EV this Magmortar a bit and, you know, put a bit more bulk in. But I think this should be fine, because while Timid Nature doesn't guarantee I outspeed Milotic, I also find it very unlikely that Milotic is going to run max speed Timid, you know, that kind of thing, to jump Magmortar of all things. So I think this should be fine. It still gets, you know, a big jump on Hitmontop, and if Hitmontop wants to jump this, it has to run Jolly max speed pretty much. I just think like we could afford to go modest this week, especially if we get Tailwind support. So yeah, those are the 6. Yeah, I'm really excited to hopefully use Regigigas a bit this week. I've probably used that as an alternate mode. I think my game plan going in is probably going to be like Mr. Mime Latias lead, maybe Regigigas Weezing game 2, depending on how it goes. But it depends on the mons they bring and how I feel in the moment, and we'll go into, you know, that we'll see how it goes when we actually get into the match. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope to see you in the week 5 battle. Take care.